Welcome to the source code overview of the SkyComm resource portal. I'm Kevin Murphy, the developer of this web application. This application is being developed as a demonstration project. It is a multi-tier application having layers for domain, data, services, and presentation. The dependency injection design pattern is used throughout the application. Some of the technologies used in the application are the Microsoft.NET Framework, ASP.NET Core, Entity Framework Core, C#, Razor Pages, SQL, Link, JSON, Bootstrap, and Bootswatch. In the application overview video, the pages in the airport section were used to demonstrate the application's features. This video will continue that same focus by presenting the source code underlying these pages. The source code that is demonstrated in this video is publicly available in a repository at my GitHub website. The web address for this location will be displayed in the upcoming screen. The presentation layer uses the MVC and MVVM design patterns. Each controller uses a dedicated service, which is accessed through a dedicated interface. The service builds the required view models, which are then passed to their related views. An interface may be injected into a controller or a service. Using the airport section for this example, a user requests the application to display the airport's search page. This request is routed to the airport controller's search action. The controller will create a view model of the type Airports Search View Model by calling the Build Airports Search View Model method. This method is accessed within the airport controller service through its dedicated interface. This method initializes local variables, populates drop-down lists, builds a search expression based on input parameters, calls the airport service in the services layer for the appropriate data set, calls a pagination service to create a paged data set, then creates a view model. Then returns the view model to the calling controller. The controller then passes the view model to the airport's search page. The services layer routes the data requests from the presentation layer to the data layer and returns the provided data back to the presentation requester. Any business logic that would be required for further processing of the data would exist within the services layer. A service class exists for each repository that resides within the data layer. Each service class has a related interface that exposes the service's properties, methods, and events. The interface is accessed by a calling client via dependency injection. Continuing with the example of a user requesting the application to display the airport's search page, the build airport's search view model method within the airport's controller service makes a call to either a get all airports method or a get airports where method, retrieving the requested data set. These methods reside within the airport's service class in the services layer. This service then calls to the airport repository in the data layer for the requested data set. And returns it to the airport's controller service. The services layer also contains additional classes that are not related to the data layer. A group of these classes are for select lists. These classes provide static data that populate drop-down lists in the application's search type pages. A pagination service class provides the functionality for the paging actions used on the application's search and filter pages. The data layer uses the repository design pattern to process the data represented by the domain models. This layer contains a repository class, for each table-based model in the domain layer. Each repository class has a related interface to expose the class's properties and methods to the calling clients within the application. This layer also contains the SkyCommDB context class, the model for the SkyCommDB database object. This model exposes the database datasets, and table properties. That are used by the repositories. This layer contains a base repository class, generic class which accesses the SkyCommDB context class via dependency injection. It allows the model repositories to retrieve and manipulate data from the database tables by using the context class's built-in CRUD methods. The base repositories methods are exposed to the client repositories by an interface class. Calling repository passes the required DB set type into the base repository. Continuing with the example of a user requesting the application to display the airport's search page, the airport service class in the services layer makes a call to the repository's getAllAirports method. Retrieving a dataset containing all the records in the airports table. The repository then calls the getAll method in the base repository. When the base repository is instantiated, it receives the designation of airport as the type of entity set to be created. The base repository returns the entity set to the calling repository. Using link syntax, the getAllAirports method adds additional fields to the entity set from other tables that are linked to the airports table through foreign key relationships. This expanded set is then returned by the airport repository to the calling client type. The domain layer contains the models for the data objects that are required by the application. These models are based on the tables in the SkyCommDB database. The tables required for the airports section are the airports, airport types, countries, regions, and SkyComm ops levels tables. In the airports search page, the airport IATA code and airport name fields are queried for the matching text entered in the page's search boxes. In the airport's filter page, the airport type ID and SkyComm ops level ID fields are queried for the matching ID numbers selected in that page's drop-down lists. The country ID field, as selected in the filter page's country list, is queried for through a foreign key relationship in the regions table. The models used by the application's domain were created by using Entity Framework Core's Database First for SQL Server process in Visual Studio. This is the generated class for the airports table. The SkyCommDB context class, which models the data object for the SkyCommDB database, is also generated during this process. Additional information about the SkyComm Resource Portal can be accessed from the Home menu. The About page provides an overview of the application. It lists the technical resources that were used in its development. Within this page is a link to the GitHub repository site containing the source code for this application. This will be displayed in a new tab or window. The contact page provides links for sending me an email, viewing my personal website, and viewing my LinkedIn profile. If selected, the website and LinkedIn pages will be displayed in a new tab or window. This information can also be accessed from the Additional Information section of the Quick Start Guide. This concludes the application source code overview of the SkyComm Resource Portal. Thank you for watching. I'm Kevin Murphy.